Okay, boys and girls, hope you got your coffee ready. We're snowed in again today, and I figure I'd take you through a fun subject here about mating and the opposite sex. Yay! Okay, so I know since this pandemic, a lot of single people have been wondering, and I'm certain a lot of women, why didn't I find a partner before this? Well, maybe we did try to ask you out, and maybe you rejected us, or the other way around. Either way, we're here and living through multiple crises in the form of economic, viral, you name it. So I'm going to take you through, since we have this time together, start to finish, how to get a mate. But it's important to consider why you're getting a mate. I mean, you were just thrust into this world, and you're extraordinarily lucky if you find a partner that wants to join forces with you and live your life parallel to each other. I mean, that's a spiritual ask. That's asking a lot. But you gotta be cool about it. And as far as the title of the video goes, it's the minority who ruin it for the majority. It's always that way. And all it takes is a few bad seeds to fuck it up for the rest of us. And I noticed in my experience, the women who've said all men who think about sex have either just run into themselves with really predatory men, or men who've just placed their values too much in sexual affairs, when that is not the point of a relationship. It's an aspect of it. It's a very important aspect of it. It's sort of like a tool. It's a bonding mechanism, but it isn't everything. You want a partner who, I will explain in a moment, who will join forces with you along this quest of life and support you and lean into your interests. But in fact, if in all honesty, in my experience personally, it's been the other way around. Me trying to be a gentleman and sort of, just being courteous, and then I turn around and suddenly they're giving me a BJ, and I'm like, whoa, I'm stunned, just like, is this happening? Is this happening? Okay, go with it. We're going into this way. We're going into this realm, and that's cool. And then I usually get really addicted. I have an addictive personality, so yeah, that happens. But from start to finish, I mean, at this point, it's like, how do you even meet a chick? Is it random, spontaneous, or involuntary? Like, I see dozens of girls walk by in the supermarket, potential candidates. It's just like going to the Arboretum and seeing flowers everywhere. Which flower do I choose? They're all nice. And not to lose my train of thought here, but, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. But what do you say? You don't just confront, you don't just walk up to them and say, do you have a boyfriend? Or in all likelihood, I start talking to girls and they say, oh, I already have a boyfriend. It's like, whoa, I was just saying hi. Like, we're all so insecure. Am I afraid to enter a relationship? I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation of where I'm at, personally. But we're in this pandemic, and apparently no one's really using dating sites, or the ones that are not favorable. So you don't just awkwardly say, do you have a boyfriend? Usually you follow it up with some kind of like question, like, oh, if they're working, for instance, like, do you know your boyfriend works so much? Or what does your boyfriend think of XYZ? Like some kind of follow-up line, just so you can gather information, because that's awkward when you just ask them straight up. It seems predatory. Or else, if they're clearly giving you the signs that you should initiate action, then maybe it'd be appropriate to say, hey, would you not mind going on a date with me? There's a cool way about doing this. But like I said, the minority ruin it for the majority, and I've certainly faced the backlash from all of the fucked up and damaged men who have rifled women's spirits. But on the off chance that you're lucky enough that you cross paths, 1 out of a billion chance that you do meet someone that you think has the potentiality to go through this life quest together and support each other, there's some important factors you want to consider before you move forward in the relationship. And first and foremost being, what kind of attachment style do they have? And just so you know, the four basic attachment styles are secure, anxious, avoidant, dismissive, and avoidant, fearful. And they are exactly as they sound. Okay? You want someone secure. You want someone that's can trust easily, is attuned to emotions. I'm just going to read this directly from it. Can communicate upsets directly, not someone who bottles up their emotions and explodes on you. That's not healthy. Leads with cooperative and flexible behavior in relationships. Like, can really work with you. Someone who's anxious, who struggles to communicate, tends to act out when triggered. Maybe some PTSD. We all have it. But I think there's a leniency there. Everyone's a little bit anxious nowadays, given just the world that we live in. But you want to lean more towards the secure. And the two that you want to definitely avoid is the avoidant and dismissive, who downplays importance, who is afraid of commitment, who sluts themselves out, is usually self-reliant, can become vulnerable when there's a big crisis. And the last one is avoidant fearful, who is more dependent in relationships than avoidant dismissive, fears rejection, has low self-esteem, and has high anxiety in relationships. And my last few have been like that. I'm not going to go into the psychology of why we are this way in relationships. A lot of it has to do with the initial relationships that we formed with our caretakers growing up. Essentially, that boils down to it. The way that the learned behaviors that we learn to get what we want and be, how we want to be seen in relationships. And I think these can be, with enough time and hard work, these can be molded. You can be a secure person. You can be a confident and secure person. It just takes a lot of work, a lot of self-reflection. Since likely this isn't readily available up front. I mean, clearly it takes some time to get to know people. And I know a lot of people are afraid of wasting their time. Oh, I spent 5 years with a person. Well, you wouldn't have known if you didn't get with them that they were this way. You start to dig deeper and things come out. But there's some signs, and you look. It's about pattern recognition. Are they secure? The way they dress, how they talk about their hobbies and their future. Use your best judgment call. Have a clear mind. Again, I could talk about all this because, well, nobody's meeting right now, and again, I just think about all the girls that I talked to that dismissed me or whatever, and vice versa, and the potentiality that could have unfolded if we knew that a pandemic was coming. I mean, if we knew a pandemic was coming, pretty sure a lot more people would be hooked up right now. Whether or not we knew their attachment styles. Okay, let's say you're lucky enough to have actually met a profoundly true and secure person. Congratulations, you just won the lottery, for real. Now, how do you make it work? And for that, I will start with Gottman's relationship house model. I will put a picture up here. Basically, this is the model for a sound and compatible relationship. First and foremost, it's built on trust and commitment. And imagine this house like you have the foundation, and any one of these elements is corroded or has some damage, then it's eventually going to give way. Or you start hammering at it, it's going to give way. If you break someone's trust, the house is going to be dilapidated and fall down. If you're not committed, it's going to fall and be broken down. I mean, those are the two pillars of a good a sound relationship, using the words here. So let's say you do have those things, and then you do have the commitment. Whether or not you drop the proposal and, you're married or not. I personally think marriage is for people who want to share and divide assets and property. I mean, you can just look at somebody and say, I'm with you for good. And if you're mature enough, especially in your 30s, you should be mature enough that you say, this is it. Because going through a breakup is like grieving somebody. It's like going through death. It's not a pleasant experience. Unless you're a psychopath, you can keep doing that. I'd prefer not to. But let's say you do. You're in it. You're committed. You're going forward with things. You want to build love maps? You can look this up. It's basically like knowing how the other person's mind works and accentuating that. what their mannerisms are, whether these are conditional or learned behaviors. You know how they operate. That's just bottom line. You wanna just get to know the person, know their mind. Then you share fondness and admiration. You got to be, that's in its title. That's the next step. Is you want to have someone you're fond of and that you admire, that you respect. That's important, because if you don't have that, then what are you doing with the person? You're just whatever. The next step is you want to turn towards and not away. And this is an important one. I feel like with my prior relationships, since I have very eccentric interests in a myriad of different things, it was important for my prior relationships to lean in, or I feel like it, and not so much anymore, but be interested in what I'm interested in. And not be annoying about it, but like if I say, oh, look at this neat musical note or neat TV show, or I think this is interesting, instead of your partner being, oh, whatever, that's just something that Reagan's into, you should try as often as possible to lean in towards that, and those are healthy relationships. Even if you don't necessarily feel it's that interesting, it's the person that you're with, and they're interested in that. So you should show some, not respect, but just lean into their interests, or at least try to. The next step is always carrying a positive perspective. I feel like this has a lot to do with trauma and negativity, or living in fear. So the positive perspective is always looking upwards, always saying, oh, for instance, like one of my ex and I went on a honeymoon trip and to Europe, and she always pointed out the negative aspects of the trip, because traveling can be stressful, and I kept having to defend myself and say, no, look at the positive of it. Always look at the positive of things. It's just one of those things. It's like once you throw out the word divorce, or negativity, that festers. And so you always want to keep positive. So just to recap here, build love maps, share fondness and admiration, turn inwards instead of away, and have a positive perspective. Now the last three are pretty crucial. They're the roof to your house, and that is how you manage conflict. I think this is one of the most important ones. The other ones can sort of be malleable, but you want to accept your partner's influence, have a dialogue about problems, and practice self-soothing. You don't need someone who's going to pout, run away from the issue. Communication is number one. You need to be able to, I would say compromise, but I don't like that word, but come to sound conclusions for the both of you that would fit both of y'all. Truly, honestly, not lying to yourself or the partner or your partner. How you manage conflict. It's kind of not really about how well you get along. I mean, most of us have the same intimate desires, and I talk about the title of this video being all men want is sex, but women want it just as much too. It's an important factor in any relationship. Accept your partner's influence. The last two are making probably the ultimate goal of, after you have all the trust and the commitment, and you know your partner and you accept their influence and you know how to work out conflict, is you want to make your dreams come true. That's why you're with the person. I mean, you could do this shit alone. I'm doing it alone. Done it alone a lot in my life. But while you're with somebody, is you're helping her achieve her dreams, and she's making you, helping you achieve your dreams. You're working together. That's what it's about. That's what's ultimately satisfactory. Not just having a compatible relationship, but actually making something of it. And the last part that builds on top of that is that you ultimately build meaning. You have, aspirations to help each other and help each other achieve their dreams, and then you're building a life of meaning. Because otherwise, again, you're alone, and you can make up whatever meaning you want in your life. For me, it feels like, oh, well, I came into this world, for two people that got together that I don't necessarily feel should have been together, and here I am produced in the world. What gives any right that I should even have, a girlfriend? I mean, I'll walk into the grocery store and I'll see a Sofia Vergara looking babe walk around. I'm just like, oh my God, I would take her out, but who's to say that I'd even deserve her, or not deserve is the word, but what is the point of a partner? Is to create meaning. A shared meaning. You have your meaning of life that you're figuring out. They have their meaning, and how do you mesh those together? That's the roof of the house. And that's a difficult ask. And if you can achieve that, then you got it in the bag. And that's when people talk about your relationship. You're not showing it off on Facebook and bragging about it, in pictures. People know that you're sharing a life of meaning together, that you're taking part in trips to Africa to, help with apartheid or, growing crops. Like, you're doing big life meaning stuff together. That's where it's at. But this is no small task. Like I said, relationships are a fickle and tricky thing. You got to be a daring and bold soul to say, hey, I'm going to give up my heart and my commitment to this one person. Who's to even say that I even, again, deserve, or not deserve, again, I say that word, I hate saying that I even am required to have a partner. Like, is this all for natural selection? Am I just getting with somebody just to produce a baby? Just to recreate immortality and try to make myself invincible, or us, and create a family? These are some deep questions. And I owe it to this mangled and horrific society, the way it's designed now, that makes me question these things. I'm sure throughout history, people never questioned the things that I did. They met somebody, they felt love, they had a family, they lived happily ever after, or not. But my life experiences have led me to question the validity of the point of relationships and what it means and how to make them work. Because I don't want to fuck up again. I hate failing. I hate dumb mistakes or us not being able to, solve conflicts when all the tools are available. I mean, you have YouTube, you have Reddit, you have Google Images. Like, you have every resource at your fingertips to help foster and develop a healthy relationship. So, maybe this helped a little bit. Look these things up if you want to, or if you're struggling. I know a lot of people are going through breakups right now, but there's a lot of single people like me, and it's given some time to self-reflect on what and why I want a relationship. Because relationships are worth it. They're joyful. They're great experiences, but they're fickle and dangerous and sometimes hard to navigate. So again, I hope this video helped you understand how to develop and foster a great relationship. Okay? It's not all about the sex. It really isn't. Though that's pretty fun. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching, and good luck.